All right, let's get to the main event. But before we do, I do want to remind you guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe, show your boys some love, and that's the best way to do it. It's just a click. That's all you got to do. You guys are typing away in the chat. Just click that like button. That's all I'm asking. All right, let's get to the main event here. Short notice, Bilal Muhammad stepping in exactly a month after he fought Diego Lima and beat him via decision. And he's going up against Leon Edwards, who hasn't seen action since July of 2019 when he headlined a San Antonio fight night against Rafael dos Anjos, coming away with a decision victory that night. Now, if people just want to look at Leon Edwards as a striker, they're sorely mistaken. The guy has a great overall MMA game. Obviously, his striking is a shining aspect, but I think his fight IQ is probably the best thing that we see from the guy. You know, he knows when to take the fight to the ground, knows when to clinch up. You know, even if you want to go back and even look at the Albert Tumenov fight, you know, having a little bit of struggles on the feet. And Tumenov, highly skilled guy, having some success in the feet and outstriking Leon there. And Leon just goes to the takedowns over and over again. And then eventually in that third round sinks in that rear naked choke. But even recently, the Dos Anjos fight, you see him, you know, clinching up with him, taking him down and doing some good work from on top. The guy has some pretty good top pressure and some good control time from there as well. The Cowboy Cerrone fight does the same thing, outstrikes him, does some good stuff, drops him, I believe, the last round or at least 2 rounds, but still comes out with the decision there. The Dos Anjos fight loses that 5th round, but still wins the first 4. Like, he is a very efficient fighter that can go out there and may not blow your hair back with like a fight of the night performance, but still goes out there and efficiently picks apart his opponent. Now, he might be a little bit low output for somebody's liking, especially compared to Bilal Muhammad. I believe Bilal has him pretty much doubled in all statistics in terms of volume and output, but it's just Leon dragging these guys into these fights that just make it a little bit more slower paced. You see Bilal having his way with Diego Lima because he just doesn't respect the guy. The only thing he has to look out for is a calf kick. And then about halfway through that fight, you see Diego Lima start to suck wind. You see him start to, you know, fold under the pressure of Bilal Muhammad. And even Bilal, you know, has to change stances, but still has a lot of success walking him down, pushing him up against the cage, and landing big strikes. Struggles to get Diego Lima down, so maybe that's a further accreditation to Diego Lima shoring up his takedown defense, but that is going to be some trouble here if he's going up against Leon Edwards and trying to just focus on getting the takedown. I feel like Bilal will try to do that same, stay in your face and pressure him. But once he gets the respect, or once he starts giving respect to his opponent, like he did in the Jeff Neal fight, he's going to start to wilt a little bit and maybe not be as you know, a high volume or a high output in this fight. I expect Leon to kind of slow this fight down, push him up against the cage, get a couple takedowns, pretty much efficiently beat him everywhere in this fight. It almost reminds me of that Sean Brady and Jake Matthews fight. I believe somebody pointed this out on Twitter, where their skills are pretty much the same, except Leon Edwards is just that much better than him in all those strengths and even the weaknesses. I think he's just much better than him in those spots. So I like Leon here. I think we see a clean performance from him, wins a 50-45, maybe drops a round at most. Bilal Muhammad has gone 5 rounds in Titan FC before. He looked great all 5 rounds. This is a tough one to take on short notice, though. And not to mention, only 3 or 4 weeks after getting his legs chewed up. And he was complaining about it after, too. He goes, man, my legs are messed up. Now you're talking about taking a short notice 5-round fight against a level of competition that you've just always been failing at when you reach it. You know, Vicente Luque loses that fight. Jeff Neal loses that fight. The guys that he's been beating as of late are just not up to snuff when you're talking about Leon Edwards. You're going to compare Curtis Millender, Takashi Sato, Diego Lima to Leon Edwards? Hell no. The only concern here for Leon Edwards is the layoff. That's the only thing you can say about him. But there are other guys, Misha Serkinov coming off an extended layoff, Matthias Nicolau coming off an extended layoff. These guys are still able to go out there and have good performances. And I think that Leon Edwards, given where he's at with his age, where he's at with his career, the guy's going to go out there. And it's not like he's just been sitting there on his couch, you know, eating Cheetos or anything like that. He's been getting ready for fights. If you guys remember, he was scheduled to fight Tyron Woodley before the whole COVID thing happened. He was the next event. And then the COVID thing happened and shut down all these events. Think about it. If you went out there and beat Tyron Woodley, you're talking about a guy fighting for the title next. Gilbert Burns did that during COVID. No, let's be honest. Gilbert Burns did that during COVID, beat Woodley, gets the title shot next. Colby Covington, if he hadn't already fought Kamaru Usman, probably would have got another title shot after that too. But, you know, he was getting ready for the Woodley fight. Then he was getting ready for Khamzat 3 different times. So the guy's been in camp. The guy's been trained. The guy's been getting ready. And I just don't think that Bilal is up there at this point in time. Too big of a step up, short notice. I'm not liking it from the Bilal perspective. I think the line is, if anything, I think we're getting a little bit of value on Leon here. Outside of the inactivity, I truly expect him to be around that minus 350, minus 400 range. So to get him around that minus 250 range was a bit of a surprise to me. So I do like Leon here. I think he wins this fight via decision. How are you thinking about it?
Listen, man, I completely agree. I think that Leon Edwards has got all the skills in the world. The guy's extremely, I wouldn't say dangerous because of finishing ability, but like he's extremely technical. He's got good striking, good from the outside. He's got good pace, good pressure, good wrestling, good cardio, good chin, good durability, good ring IQ. He's got it all. The one thing is that because he's not viewed as the sexiest matchup, nobody wants to fight him. And as a result, that's where you get the inactivity. But this is the cold hard facts. You look at the division. He's already fought Kamaru Usman. He's won 8 straight since, but nobody wants to see him versus Kamaru Usman. And Usman's not looking to fight Leon Edwards again. Colby Covington is on record saying he doesn't want to fight him. Gilbert Burns doesn't want to fight him. George Masvidal very clearly does not want to fight him. He sucker punched him in the backstage, but has then turned down multiple opportunities to fight him. Stephen Thompson didn't really want to fight him. So he draws Tyron Woodley. Only Tyron Woodley doesn't want to fight him. So he bails out of the fight. The guy decides he's going to fight Khamzat Chimaev strictly by way of nobody wants to fight Chimaev. I might as well fight him. Nobody wants to fight me. Edwards could very easily be the number 3 guy in the world. I think Usman is the best. I think Colby Covington, in my opinion, is the second best guy. I don't see the rest of those guys being Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is legit. Now you look at body of work. Wow, geez, what has he got? A win over aged Rafael dos Anjos over 5. He's got a win over an aged Donald Cerrone over 5. He has a split decision win over Gunnar Nelson. And then the third round, bro, he's tired and he's losing the third round. He gets taken down. He's getting out grappled. Like, not a very good look for him. So how could you be so confident that this guy's got all the skills? It's like you just haven't been able to see it because nobody wants to fight him. So him fighting Woodley would have been his coming out party. Either way, it's everybody's coming out party, right?
Yeah.
Nobody gave Burns any respect. Nobody gave Usman any respect. He was the underdog. No one gave Burns any respect. People were saying that he might catch Colby Covington. It's like not going to happen. And sure to God, there's going to be somebody that picks him over Vicente Luque. But like all it is your coming out party. Leon Edwards would have had that coming out party. No, he doesn't get that. So now he's fighting Chimaev 3 separate times. All you're working is your grappling. All you're working is on your cardio. All you're working is all these things. And even though the fight's fallen out, go check out Leon Edwards' Instagram. Go check out any of his social media. Oh my God. He's in career best shape. He's absolutely shredded. And the dude has got a massive chip on his shoulder. Nobody wants to fight him. He's in the prime of his career. He's like 29 years old. And he can't get a fight? Stupid. So now he's drawing Bilal Muhammad. Well, you see how we're discussing like Leon Edwards is, in my opinion, number 3 guy in the world. If you don't like the guy, still hard to argue he's not a number 5 guy in the world. And now he just drew Bilal Muhammad, who he's not in the top 10. He's a tough son of a bitch. He'll give you a go. He's a fan favorite, but he's not a top 10 guy. And I'll admit, on Titan, like you said, he used to fight 5 rounds back in Titans. Like, dude had cardio for days, never got tired. That was his weapon. Came to the UFC, and it's like, okay, well, you only got 3 rounds instead of 5. And he's a slow starter. He gives up those early rounds, but he can come back in rounds 2 and 3. When they've given him those steps up, those upper echelon guys, whether it was that debut against Alan Jobin, further down the line, he takes out Vicente Luque, further down the line, the Jeff Neals of the world. Like, he's not coming out victorious in those fights. When they've given him the Diego Limas, when they've given him guys that are more or less clinging to a job, he goes out there and he does the damn thing. The Tim Means fight showed at range he is extremely hittable. He doesn't really move his head and his hands are really low, but he's tough and he's got a great chin and he'll grind forward. Tim Means is kind of notorious for not having great cardio, kind of wilting the longer a fight goes if he's not having his way. Bilal can expose a guy like that. But against Leon Edwards, he's got volume, strictly volume. So how do you use just volume to be on Leon Edwards? Well, keep it a striking affair and just grind this guy. But I think Leon will be superior in the clinch. He's got excellent elbows in clinch, excellent knees in the clinch, loves to exit the clinch with a big strike, lands those eye-peeling shots. But the guy I don't want to compare him to a GSP. I don't want to compare him to a Khabib. He's not wrestling on that level. It's knowing how to just control time, knowing how to just I'm pressing you into the cage more often than not. I'm making the advancements. It seems like he controls a lot of the time. And so ultimately he's a bit of a decision guy. We've seen him knock out Peter Sabata with 1 second left on the clock. Yeah. We've seen him hurt Paul Pawlik, but he's not really much of a power guy. Even the Cerrone fight, he diced him with some nasty elbows. And Cerrone, at this stage, you could take him out. Just, again, didn't really have much there. So I think Bilal Muhammad tough, but this thing's banking in rounds. What I initially liked is I wanted to hit those over 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. I mean, that was an approach that fucking Jan had to blast him in the face with a knee. But if Peter Yan would have just kept the course, we were getting all of our rounds in, baby. And hopefully that decision prop, which never came to fruition. And then in the main event, same thing. It was just like, well, Jan is tough. This thing probably banks over 3-4. But the over 3.5, 4.5 fight goes the distance are not good in this fight. I mean, they're all big. Everyone's on the same page. So you kind of do have to pick that winner. I'm going with Leon Edwards. The straight up minus 260 to minus 280 that you'll find on the money line, that's a very appropriate as far as I'm concerned. But when you look at his track record, and he's won a couple of these 5-round decisions, he's won a lot of fights by decision. He likes to control a lot of the pace, and knocking out Bilal Muhammad's a problem. Submitting Bilal Muhammad, good luck. It probably does go the way of decision. Leon Edwards by decision is what was it? Was it plus 120? Plus 120. It's a plus money play. That's your headliner. It seems like he's one of the more safer guys on the card. But it is MMA at the end of the day. But I think that even if Bilal springs the upset by decision, it's just there's not enough meat on the bone for me to just take the fight straight up by decision.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a fight that's going to be banking rounds. But I think we're going to see Leon Edwards come out there and just try to make up for lost time and remind people like I am deserving of a title shot. And I think Dana even said that he's probably getting a title shot if he wins this fight. But how often can we truly believe what Dana says nowadays, right? Especially when you're talking about Leon Edwards.
Yeah, I feel like I want to say they owe him one, right? It's like when you sign to the UFC, you're owed a certain amount of fights per year. So now they got to get these guys to fight you. But you and I discussed this last week with Carlos fucking Goldberg. It's like he's giving him a list of options, right? Leon Edwards is a top 3 guy. He's a top 5 guy in the world. He doesn't get a list of options because it's like, oh yeah, I'll fight this guy. Well, yeah, he turned you down. I guess I'll fight that guy. No, he turned you down too. Well, who can I fight? Well, we'll find you somebody. But then they got nobody. You ask the champ. No, you're not selling him in an immediate title fight, and I already beat him, right? You try to sell Colby. Colby doesn't want it, and you can't force Colby into anything. He's the A side just because so many people hate him. He's bringing in the viewership. He doesn't want the fight. George Masvidal, well, he thinks he's Scarface. He's not taking the fight. Look at all these guys. They just don't want to fight him. The aged veterans, a loss knocks them right down. They don't want to fight him. The young up-and-comer, they don't benefit anything from. Even if you go out there and you beat this guy, it doesn't really do much for your stock. Oh, whatever, he beat Leon Edwards. I think it's funny on Twitter where everyone's just like, who? Like, it's fun. It's funny. Yeah. I'm in on that. It's funny to me. But like, what's not funny is like this dude's skills, man. This guy's a scary individual. He's got everything you would want in a fighter. If you were to build that prototypical fighter, what you like, we talked about you know what? Essentially, he's a poor man's Kamaru Usman. He's a poor man's Kamaru. He's got great cardio. His wrestling's not on Usman's level. His cardio is a slight level, not on Usman's level. His striking's not quite on Usman's level. But the thing is, he does everything really well, and he's a decision guy. He's got
fight IQ.
It's the fight IQ. It's the knowing that even if you get rocked, it's the knowing how can I slow this thing down? How can I bring this back into my domain? And unfortunately, the poor man's version of Usman not likely to beat Kamaru Usman. But Leon Edwards is 29 years old, right? Kamaru Usman's now in his mid-30s, and his knees are absolutely shot to bit. So the young challenger's time will come. It just depends at what point do they meet again. If he wins this fight and he fights Usman right away, I don't like his chances. If he wins this one and was able to scrap up another couple fights, great. But because nobody wants to fight him, you have to rush him along. And how many guys win 8 fights in the UFC and it's like no one's even talking about them. Like it's almost disrespectful. And I think that the minus 260 money line is a reflection of that. Like people just don't like him for whatever reason. I can't figure it out.
I thought it was supposed to be minus 400, to be honest. That's where I thought the line was going to drop at, or at least get bet to. But I think a lot of people are buying into that layoff narrative. They're a little bit high on Bilal just because he fought a month ago and he looked great. You know what I mean? He just completely swept Diego Lima. But this is a far cry from Diego Lima going up against Leon Edwards.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if you matched up Leon Edwards against Tyron Woodley, he'd be a big favorite, right? If you matched Leon Edwards up against Colby Covington, he'd be a pretty sizable underdog, but one with a shot. Him versus Chimaev. I'm not sure what they had lined that up initially, but he was. How do you get the number 4 ranked guy in the world against a guy that's not even in the top 15 as like a sizable ranked underdog? Like he's got great skills there. Him versus Gilbert Burns, he'd be the big favorite. And the biggest gift the UFC could give little Cody, get me back on track, get me back in the positive this year, is giving me Edwards versus George Masvidal, because Masvidal would have a reasonable line. Maybe even might be even money. Maybe might even be a slight favorite. He's got no shot in that fight. No. Like Edwards would ragdoll, right? And so people don't see that because he doesn't have the same opportunities to those guys. He never ran and smashed a guy with a flying knee and went viral. So there's an assumption that he sucks. But it's like winning is winning. And the guys that win aren't exactly the most exciting, whether it be Kamaru, whether it be George, whether it be Khabib at various points in his career. You know, Islam Makhachev might be the next champion, but like, yeah, if he submits you, great. If he doesn't, he's just going to grind on you. It might not be the prettiest thing going, but it's effective and it wins. Even the great strikers, right? Remember Lyoto Machida and how much they complained how boring he was? It's like, dude, you just wait. It's like, he's a winner. He's winning. Once you change your style. Now, if Leon comes out with chip on his shoulder and says, I want to finish, I'm going to fight like Aljamain Sterling and throw a 600 punch combination in the first minute of the round. It's like, well, wouldn't be a good game plan. But if he fights to his capabilities and what he does best, it should be a good fight for him.
The last thing I'll say about the layoff, the one layoff that truly comes to mind when you're talking about guys of his skill level, Dominic Cruz, when he came back against Takeya Mizugaki and TJ Dillashaw, goes out there and has a great performance. I'm expecting a very pissed off Leon Edwards to show up this Saturday night to remind people who the fuck he is and who the fuck this guy was about to be if he had beaten or if he had gotten that Tyron Woodley fight and showed up that night and probably got a title shot after.